Hi, I'm David Saunders, and today we're talking to Leigh Watson from Haunted Cambridge. Hi, Leigh, how are you today?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon indeed. How are you today? How are you going on this sunny winter's day?
I'm fine, thank you very much. I'm just organising tonight's ghost tour,
Well, very cool, and that's
which
what
we
we're here
have
for.
5 people attending.
Well, that's quite good. Now, the reason we want to talk to you today is we believe Haunted Cambridge is quite a new thing, but you've been quite involved in ghost tours in Cambridge for quite a while. Can you tell us how Haunted Cambridge started?
Okay, Cambridge had a tourist information office before COVID, which unfortunately, like a lot of the things, didn't survive COVID. So when lockdown ended, a group of us trained ghost guides formed the group called Haunted Cambridge. It's basically cooperative. There's about 10 guides, and we offer ghost tours on a Friday and a Saturday evening around the city of Cambridge. We do extras at Halloween, and we do extras over Christmas and Easter and places, but on the whole, it's a Friday and Saturday night event
Okay.
all
How
through the
did you
year.
how long have you been doing ghost tours for yourself in Cambridge?
I've been doing the ghost tours for about 6 or 8 years now, but ghost tours actually started about 20 years ago in Cambridge from a man who now is part of the Ghost Club. So the ghost tours have been running in Cambridge for about 20 odd years. It's quite a haunted city. There's quite a lot of strange things happening in Cambridge, but then Cambridge is a
Okay.
strange
Who
place.
was the fellow that was from the Ghost Club?
Alan Murdy.
Okay, yep, we know Alan. Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
So he was one that started that there. So what obviously people are going to want to know, why would you want to come to Cambridge to do ghost tours? What are some of the haunted locations you've got there?
We have two main haunted locations. One is Little St Mary's Lane, which is one of my favourites, because at the corner of Little St Mary's Lane we have Black Shuck, our hellhound, our demonic hellhound, he of the staring red eyes. And the other one is around St Edmund, the Church St Edmund King and Martyr, where you are supposed to hear the Reformation preachers, particularly they call them the Oxford Martyrs. Cambridge made them, Oxford burned them. And so you're supposed to hear them preaching in Edward King and Martyr Church if you're there at the right time. It's haunted places in Cambridge.
Okay, so I'm imagining I was in Cambridge last year and I had a look around, and I don't really know too much about Cambridge. Obviously, it's the university plays a big part in the city.
Yes, the university is the major, I suppose, the major thing why people come to Cambridge. Otherwise, without Cambridge University, Cambridge is a very small market town on the edge of the fens,
Okay,
basically. But the university makes it a very different sort of place. But because of the university, we do have a lot of strange goings on. So, like Trinity has Dr. Dee, who was, a necromancer, an alchemist, and as well as one of Elizabeth I's spies. We have T.C. Lethbridge, who was very into his alternatives and into his ghosts and stuff. We have Alistair Crowley, who was again a man from Trinity. Um, Interesting man, certainly an interesting man. I would not think I would like to have met him, to be brutally
no,
honest.
no, I don't think he was that
Um,
good a bloke. No.
I don't think you're the sort of person that you would actually want to have tea with. So we do have a lot of characters like that in Cambridge. A lot of very strong characters, and also we are basically, if you go back to prehistory, we're one of what they know as liminal spaces. We were not quite land, not quite sea, not quite marsh. So there's a lot of prehistoric. There's Flag Fen and there's all the stuff around like that. So there's a lot of sort of prehistory to the place because of the fact that in pagan times we're this place that's not quite land, not quite sea. When it's was it liminal spaces? So a very very spooky place. Yes,
I suppose that's why you have, I think, the Isle of Ely is not
we
far
do
from
indeed.
Cambridge.
Yes,
So you've got these different type of land formations.
yeah.
So how did you come to decide what ghost stories you use in your ghost tour? Are you doing the same tour yourself, or do each of the ghost guides do their own?
Everybody has their own sort of slant on it. Because I got involved many years ago with one of the White Witches in Cambridge, and I was in part of Cambridge Pagan Fellowship. my tours are actually quite witchy, and I do a little bit of alternative and paganism, where it slips in easily with the tours. But everybody has their own sort of slant, and we very much are based on Alan Murdy's book. He's written a book with his, I think, his partner, Cambridge Ghosts, and basically that is this, I suppose, the basis of our tours. But I have been given several ghost stories by people when I've been in Cambridge. So I have my own, which I really must write down and
Mm.
make a file somewhere for future ghost guides, because I've been told some stories that about the town fairly recently. And in fact, I was doing a walking tour after COVID, after lockdown. She's one of the people on it was a PhD student from Cambridge, and I was talking about Black Shark. Now, all the hellhound. I mean, what I say of all these things, there's that they are a wild magic. They're neither good nor evil. They're a wild magic. There are various stories about Black Shark, that if you meet him, you're dead within the year, etc., etc., etc. But a lot of these creatures, there's a story of them as protectors. And I said this, and she said, "Oh," and I said, "Go on, please tell me." And she said, "It was very late one night. I was trying to get back into college, and the keypad didn't work. I was getting really scared. I turned around, she said, there's this enormous black dog sitting beside me. And with that, the keypad worked, and I got into college, and I said, that was Black Shark protecting you." So seen recently on the streets of Cambridge, which are lovely because they're modern, they are relevant to now. They are, she was scared, and there he was to help her.
Have you ever experienced any inexplicable? I mean, I understand you when I was talking to you originally, and we said that you said your first paranormal experience yourself had something to do with when you were 18 and
Yeah.
included your cat. Can you tell us
That's a
about
cat.
that?
It was strange because it's one of those things where the logic says it was a shadow cast. But then you think, actually, but every single time, whether the lights were on, the lights are off. And I had gone away to college, which actually I have to say was the worst experience of my life, and I loathed it. But every time I walked down this one corridor, a cat dashed in front of me, a black cat dashed in front of me. And it didn't matter whether the lights were on, the lights were off, a cat ran in front of me. And that was my first really sort of definite, repeated, strange experience.
And that kept repeating. Did
Hmm.
that cat kept? So it was
Oh,
clearly not.
yes. Yeah,
So it
lots of
was. It
times.
wasn't just once. It wasn't just
No,
your eyes
no,
play tricks
several
on you.
times.
So,
Several times, yeah.
and do you
So
explain
really
that? Can
strange.
you explain that other than the
I
fact that it
can't.
was
I
no?
can't. It's one of those things where you just think, I cannot explain this. I've not had that many. I wouldn't say I'm hyper psychic, but I've had some odd experience over the years.
Okay.
So it is something that does. It happens enough that when it happens, I don't have a breakdown. But I'm not
No.
one of these people that can't leave the house without tripping over ghosts, if you see what I mean.
Okay. Well, you probably are more. I'm not going to say more unusual. A different kind of ghost tour guide who actually maybe is more pagan
Yeah,
rather than you have lots of different ghost guides. Some of them do it because they're very good ghost guides. Oh, sorry, they're very good tour guides and tell a good
yeah,
story, and they're interested. But tomorrow they could do one on combine harvesters, or they'll do
yes,
another
yes,
story about
yeah,
police or whatever. And so then there's ones that are there because they love ghost stories.
yes.
You clearly sort of have a mixture of that.
Well, I say I am a trained guide, and I have to say that training to be a tour guide was the hardest thing I have ever done in my whole life. Was training to be a tour guide. So I do have all the history and all the rest of it of the city of Cambridge, but I have had a very alternative upbringing. I, s- my grandmother is a Fenland woman, and so almost certainly there's witches in the Fenlands, because witchcraft is very, very strong in the Fens. My grandmother was a Fenland woman. My mother was involved during the Second World War with spiritualism and table tapping and all sorts of stuff. So I had quite a alternative upbringing, let's say. And so although I've never used a Ouija board. I've always been warned off the Ouija board. I used to read the tarot. I don't now, but I've had a lot of alternative stuff over my many years.
Yeah. So you've said you haven't had many experiences, but have people experienced anything on your tours? Sometimes you hear from ghost tour guides that something happens because you're going into the haunted places. Have you experienced anything like that?
Yes, I had one, and it was very, very interesting. It's a story about Corpus Christi College and a young man who was. Well, the story is that he was going out with the daughter of the master. Now, at the time, Cambridge, all the students were male and all the staff had to be single men, but the current master brought into Corpus had been married, but his wife had died. So he was single, but he brought in his daughter. And the young man in question was lower social class, so therefore it ain't going to happen. And the story is that he was locked in a cupboard where he died. He was having tea with his girlfriend. She heard her father coming up the stairs, shoved him in the cupboard and said, "Don't come out till everything's quiet." And the story is that he actually died in the cupboard. It's one of the Corpus Christi ghosts. I did this tour with somebody who was very psychic, and she said, I was telling the story, and somebody whispered in my ear, "No, it was murder."
Do you know anything more about that though? No? So it's
Other than it's much more logical than he was locked in the cupboard and died. If you think about it
yeah.
brutally,
You wouldn't forget about him, would you? If you
you know,
did it.
you would have thought, the argument we say, well, the cupboard was a good, solid, old-fashioned, strong cupboard for storing your valuables. It wasn't, like an IKEA flat pack that you could kick the back out. It was, a solid cupboard. But I sat and thought, well, actually, if Daddy wanted rid of him, Daddy would have got rid of him.
Okay.
And the inquest would have been 12 just men and true, and they would have found for the master of Corpus College. They wouldn't have found for a poor little student, of lower class origins. So, but it's one of the traditional stories that is, again, it's in Alan's book, and it's one
Yeah.
of the traditional stories about it. And I just think that was very, very interesting because it puts a whole new slant on it.
Yeah.
That no,
So,
it was murder.
do you have other things, interesting things that happen during? Because you often must meet lots of people and people like ourselves that are interested in these things. You must almost sponge in some of this stuff that people are giving you.
Oh yes, you get. I mean, invariably, you get. People will tell you at the beginning when you meet first of all before you start doing the tour and you chat. You'll have people saying, "Oh, I saw a ghost," or I, this, that, and the other. What is really fascinating is when somebody says to you, "I don't believe in ghosts. I've never seen a ghost. I don't believe in ghosts." And halfway around, you say something, and they suddenly go, "Oh," and they realise that they have seen a ghost. I had one. He was again. They were students, so they were not English. And he said, "Oh, I don't believe in ghosts. Never seen a ghost." Now I was telling him that one of the sort of at some point I bring up the theories of why people see ghosts and the idea that if somebody has died, they are sort of in this sort of slightly between. They've physically died, but they're not spirit is still sort of hanging around, not quite sure what to do next. And then if you're sensitive, you would see it. Often you can see them. And with that, he said, "Oh. After my grandfather died, I saw him outside my room for about a week." And I said, "Yes, you have seen ghosts. You just didn't make that connection that what was happening with it. You were."
Yeah. Hello, can I hear you? Sorry, I think I've lost your voice there.
Yes, sorry.
I don't know what happened there, but yeah. So how do you balance when you're going doing a tour guide to a tour, I should say, when you're doing a tour and you're going in all these places? How do you sort of balance between, you know, you're obviously talking about some very ghostly, probably murders, lots of stuff like that, and balance of being respectful to the local people who are there because from what I can see, it's quite a dense kind of town. You must be near houses and stuff like that. Oh, okay.
Problems. Have
Sorry,
you
you're
got me
back.
back? Yeah.
You're back now.
Yes.
Okay. So did you
Um,
hear any of that? I was just saying, how do
yes.
you
Yeah.
balance
Yeah. You.
being so close
You.
to people when you're doing this?
You have to be careful. Bits are okay. So there's bits of town where, in front of the haunted bookshop, the shop is shut. That's not a problem. It's when you go down Little St Mary's Lane where the houses actually come straight onto the pavement and they don't have halls, so you're actually outside somebody's living room window. At which point you have to diplomatically place yourself. So you look for a house that hasn't got lights on, or with black shuck, we can go right up on the town end. There's a chapel, nonconformist chapel. So you go there and do black shuck because there's hopefully nothing going on in there. And then you go round to the back of Peterhouse again and hope that the man in the flat doesn't come out and shout at you. And this has been known to happen. People come out and shout at us, but you try and just diplomatically place yourself out of the way so you don't sort
Okay.
of offend people.
Okay. So what do you hope when you do your ghost tours that people take away with them?
I hope they take away with them maybe just a question, just maybe a thought. Like the young man I was telling you about, who suddenly thought, yes, I have seen a ghost. Suddenly that question, actually, is there more to this world?
Mm,
I did one of the things that I we do, and I'm always a bit worried about, is foreign school kids. They're usually about 14, 15. They're not sort of tinies, where I can't. understand their language. But I had one wonderful tour where I did all my stuff and they all looked quite interested. And I was walking on, and the teacher came up to me and she said, "They're talking philosophy. I can hear what they're talking, and they're talking philosophy." And I thought, yes, they're thinking a bit bigger. They're not. They're actually. They're just. They're just. Yes, they're doing something a bit different. They're thinking something a bit different. And that was really, really nice, because you want to say, the whole point of, life is one continual experience, and just let's increase it and increase it and increase it and
Yeah,
expand your thoughts. And that's super.
that's great. So, what's going the future hold for Haunted Cambridge? You're a co-op. You've got your tours all going on. How's it been? Because obviously it must have been very difficult. That's why it didn't exist during COVID.
Mm.
Now you're building up. What do you think the future lies?
Well, we seem to be doing very well, thank you very much. We've, even considering it's February, we've got 5 people tonight and 6 people tomorrow night, which really for the middle of February is very good numbers. We've even a couple of Saturdays put out 2 or 3. We limit our group size to 12
Yeah, that's good.
because they're much better small groups. And I think last couple of weekends ago, we put 3 guides out. So we're doing very nicely, thank you very much. The slight concern for the future, and it is with all of the tourism and all the tour guides, is the training, because we are trained, qualified, insured guides, member of the the Society of Tour Guides of Britain, and so we're badged. We have the qualification. So I suppose the slight concern is training people in the future, if there's no sort of formal network of, sort of tourist board tour guides, we don't know. But hopefully we will get some people coming along and we can do all this, because it looks like we're going great. Thank you very much.
Well, sounds great.
Ghost tours are alive and well and living in Cambridge.
Okay, give us 30 seconds. Why should people travel from their town to Cambridge to do your ghost tour?
Okay, Cambridge is an amazing place and it's really lovely and it's got lots of gorgeous things in it. And if you come with Haunted Cambridge, we'll take you down dark, scary back streets and tell you stories about strange university people and strange demonic hellhounds. And if you're with me, a little bit of moon magic.
Sounds awesome. So it's give us the website,
Hauntedcambridge.co.uk.
and of course we'll put the link in below so everyone can get it. And I'll make sure I went to, as I say, I went to Cambridge. Wasn't a great day. I'm not going to go into it, but I turned up to where the spot was, and there was no one there. But that was last year, so maybe it was before all the things happened. I don't know, but I'll be
So
looking forward to coming back.
yeah, well, you've got my contact, because the trouble is,
Absolutely.
what happened for a long time, what happened, it was a very ad hoc system. And we had no formal structure. I mean, now we book through Eventbrite, so we know that we've got people.
Okay.
But there was a point where people were hanging around on street corners hoping for the best. So it's possible that it just all went wrong. So I do
Yeah.
apologise. It wasn't
No,
us, though, was it?
I
That let
don't
you
know.
down.
I don't know. I don't. It was a bad day. We had a hotel that wasn't particularly good. It was a horrible day. But I
It
mean,
sounds like
I'm
you had a bad experience. But come back
was.
to Cambridge and we'll try and give you a good
I will.
experience.
I will absolutely do that, and I will make sure I
Yeah,
come on your tour
yeah,
or whatever it is.
yeah.
So, because
Okay.
I mean, Cambridge does look like an excellent town, and the fact you have Alan Murdy, you're basing your stuff on his book, means it'll be top notch. So
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
be not even having gone on it, knowing that it's based on that book. I know people will have a great time. Anyway,
yeah.
thank you very much,
Thank you
Leigh.
very much
It's
indeed.
been great, and I look forward to catching up on the streets of Cambridge one day.
Yeah, okay,
All
anytime.
right,
Thank you very
see you
much.
later. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye bye.